right, let's get started. Good morning to the community conversations. It is September 23rd. I am Donnell Rendolph. I am the community programs coordinator at the Oakland Animal Services, funded by the Friends of Oakland Animal Services. Today's topic is community outreach, animal services meet human services. And so we have Dr. Jyothi Robertson and Marshall Williams with us today to talk about how we all work together. Hosting is me, Donnell Randolph, and we also have Nadia. How's it going, Nadia?
Hi, good morning. I'm Nadia Seguera Ramon, and I just got a message from somebody who grew up in Davis. So I have to say, I am actually in Los Angeles. I'm not in Davis, but I do work for the UC Davis Caret Shelter Medicine Program as their California program manager. And looking forward to hearing your fantastic presentation, Donnell.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
Would you like me to kick off the question of the day now?
Sure, that'd be great.
Great. So, in the spirit of today's topic, our question of the day is to please share a memorable experience you've had while working with animals or people in your community. And extra credit if you can tell us what did you learn from that experience. So please feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can unmute for a minute if you'd like to. But I guess to just get us started, Donnell, I know you just had a community event and you're always in the community. Is there anything that you would like to share?
Sure. We had tons of people that showed up for the community event that were just walking by. And so being open to them explaining what's happening. And so we had this couple who came in, they had two dogs. One was fully vaccinated. They had a puppy with a cut foot and it wasn't really sure how to treat it. But luckily, with the resources we have in Oakland, due to some grant funding, we're able to send them over to a local cost clinic to have that checked out. And they're really grateful. They were surprised we were even willing to look at the foot. They're not really used to that kind of thing. So being in the community, especially for an area we have not served before, was a really good experience for me. So how about you, Nadia?
Great. So recently, actually, I was at an event. I live in West Covina, and it was a human-centric event. I was talking a little bit about, kitten fostering and all of that. And I met a person who was like, "Oh, I'm always finding kittens and taking care of them because our local shelter is usually at capacity." And just having that conversation with this person was a reminder that people are taking care of animals in the community. Even in where I live, it's a high intake community. The shelter, gets a lot of animals. But it doesn't mean that's not representative of the community not caring for animals. So anytime I meet somebody who's fostering kittens, I'm super excited, but always reminded that people care and they're doing the best that they can. So yeah, and I see some reflections in the chat. So please keep them coming so we can put them on the pet forum after this call. So because we want to keep the call moving along, we're actually going to move over to national updates and we'll spend a few minutes. If you want to put your national updates in the chat or if you want to unmute, please leave it to 1 to 2 minutes maximum. So I'll just give it a moment if anybody is feeling brave and wants to unmute.
I'll unmute. We have a TNR workshop coming up on October 5th from 2 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we've got it teaches people how to trap cats, how to take care of, how to plan a trapping and how to take care of the cats while they're in the traps, how to get them to the clinic so the clinic doesn't hate you when you come in with your cats. So it's a good one for beginners if you guys have people in your organizations, and it's like a $10 registration fee and you get a certificate. So that's what's coming up at Community Cats Podcast. I will put a link in the chat.
Great, thank you, Kristen. Anybody else have anything they want to share? I'm reading the reflections that are coming in the chat too. Well, I will take the silence as a sign that there's no other national updates and everybody's excited to hear about the work that Donnell, Jyothi, and Marshall are doing. So, Donnell, I'm going to hand it back to you. It'd be a little bit weird if you introduce yourself, so I'm going to introduce you. We have joining us from Oakland a triple threat, Donnell, Jyothi, and Marshall, who will be talking about their community-centric work that they're doing. So take it away, y'all.
Thank you so much, Nadia. All right, let me just share my screen. All right, welcome, welcome. All right. So I'd like to start with welcoming Marshall Williams, the founder and CEO of Project Pet, hails from Oakland, California, by the way of Maryland, Indiana, with a background in criminal justice, holding titles as hostage negotiator, training officer for the state of Indiana Department of Corrections. Transitioning from his public role, he ventures into the corporate world, excelling in sales and marketing. Today, Marshall dedicates to integrate animal welfare and social services through Project Pet, an Oakland-based social enterprise. Under his leadership, Project Pet addresses systematic barriers to health care in underserved communities by leveraging the human and animal bond. Marshall initiatives such as release a leash programs and One Health microclinics exemplifies his innovation approach and combining his pet care and mental health wraparound support. Project Pet commits to a holistic wellness and community empowerment and transforming lives through the Bay Area, fostering resilience and restorative justice for both pets and people. Thank you, Marshall, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And then next we have Dr. Jyothi Robertson, is a owner and principal consultant at JVR Strategies, providing specialized consulting services for animal welfare and related organizations, and is a founder of the Journey You Own, a nonprofit project to raise awareness about the interdependent nature of missions-driven sector. Her work has been taking her over to 5 continents, where she's present as a speaker and keynote at over 50 conferences. That is a lot. Good job, Jyothi. You will hear a little bit more about her work in Oakland in this presentation. So welcome, Dr. Jyothi.
Hello. And Donnell, do you have a formal introduction for yourself too?
Sure, I am Donnell Randolph. I am the community programs at Oakland Animal Services. I've been in the industry for about 10 years. I am a pet parent of a Staffordshire Terrier, Echo, 10 years old. And I also have a little Yorkie mix that is just over a year. And so my favorite things to do is foster puppies, kittens, especially bottle babies is my favorite, especially bottle baby puppies. They're freaking cute. So what got me into this industry was seeing a lot of people needing help in this industry, and most shelters not willing or is not understanding some barriers that a lot of people have who are not fortunate like other people. So that is my connection. So community outreach, animal services meet human services. Pets and human services connect to make a difference in Oakland. Let's get this started. All right, Jyothi.
I'm going to start us off, and this is really a presentation that's Donnell's and Marshall's, but I want to set sort of the framework for how I've viewed my work at Oakland and what led to this partnership between Donnell, Marshall, and myself. I started as a shelter medicine veterinarian in Oakland in 2005. And when I was a veterinarian there, the organization was run by a sergeant. So it was under the police department. And I know there's others on this call who have worked with Oakland in different ways over the years. So they're familiar with the different transitions of directors that had happened at the time. The website that you see all the way at the left was what our website looked like. we focused a lot on, or my focus as a shelter veterinarian at that time was a lot of working with animal control and doing cases, animal cruelty type cases. Our view of community and community engagement and the way that we work with community was sort of placed within that lens of being under the police department. As I continued working there, we actually had 2 other sergeants who joined full time. So they were actually stationed in the shelter itself, and they would work with myself and some of the other technicians, again, on different types of cases that show up. And many of those, were like fix it type tickets, but there were also some that were actual, like that we actually met with our I think it was the district prosecutors and the district lawyers to take those to court in different ways. A lot has changed in sheltering since that time. And from 2005 to 2013, you can even see it physically in the website design that changed. Oakland Animal Services was no longer under the police department when I left in 2013. It became well, actually, Donnell can talk a little bit more about the structure of the organization. But it shifted the way that it viewed not only communities, but also the way that we worked together as a team, the individuals who are on the team. And while I love my time at Oakland in 2005, I love it even now, even more so. So fast forward to 2020, and right during COVID time, I was working with many shelters by this point as a consultant, and a lot of my work involved travel to other states and to other countries. And then we had lockdown. So at that point, I no longer was traveling, and there was an opportunity to refocus on my work as a veterinarian, doing hands-on work with my communities. So I started here in the Silicon Valley, kind of San Francisco Bay Area, and then went back to Oakland. And that's where Donnell comes in, because at this point, Donnell has started working for Oakland Animal Services. Donnell, do you want to talk about 2020 to now?
Yes, 2020. Thank you so much, Jyothi, for that information. So 2020, I started January. It was during a huge transition for Oakland Animal Services. The old management was walking out while a whole new management was walking in. It was Ann from Cattown and Ben Winkleblack from Santa Cruz. And so they had some visions that they wanted to do. So while they were coming in, well, a whole new vet team, we were trying to figure out what can we do to keep animals outside the shelter. What are other places doing? And this is when hospice coming out, and we were trying to figure out what can Oakland Services do to help people in Oakland, people and their animals. So lockdown happened 2020, so everything got stopped, and we're able to actually rebuild. So 2020, we sat down and we saw that we had a lot of animals in our system that were there for a few months due to having medical issues. These medical issues the owners wanted to keep, but turns out that they were not able to due to the medical. So they surrendered it. And then after we healed the animal after 2-3 months, we'll contact them like, hey, are you interested in taking your animal back? And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're unable to for certain reasons. So kind of breaking that connection with those 2-3 months really put a huge burden on the shelter to keep feeding, taking care of these animals. So we're spending so much money on medical, so much on feeding, cleaning, housing, when we could be helping more animals that need it. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is kind of how I started, why and how. And so Anne had an idea of, let's start vaccinating people's animals who come to the shelter. Let's see if we can actually help them keep their animals by doing the medical as soon as it happens, and see how stretched we can have our medical team so they're able to help more animals. So hopefully in the future, these same animals are still getting the care they need from their owners. All right, collaboration. So when I first got started, it was people coming to the front desk asking for food, asking for medical supplies, asking for help. We were doing what we could with the staff we did have, but it wasn't enough. It was turning into more every day, every minute, everyone's asking. So we decided we're going to, hey, let's start having clinics where we'll have everyone come down for a few hours to hang out with us. And so we started with dog tags. We started with giving out pet food, pet clothes, vaccines, and we really wanted to do this for the unhoused. So we teamed up with our city and county ran RV parks, safe RV places to be able to assist them. But a little forward down the road, this is where I met Marshall, and Marshall had a huge stake in animal collaboration, human collaboration services that was really needed that we weren't able to help. So there was a huge hole that I did not see, that I kept being told, I'm not seeing it, that there's a bigger picture. All right, and so these are the all the ones that we eventually had after our first year and a half of actually doing these clinics for the unhoused, and also doing low income clinics for the rest of the community. The low income clinics, we saw about 20 to 30, and then about over 100 animals came to low income. All right, and so with Jyothi's guidance, when I decided to ask her for help because no one else wanted to help her, so she was like, "Hey, can we separate the dog and cat line? It seems very stressful for the cats, and we also have animals that are vulnerable that should not be here, like puppies and kittens." And so we're able to create a whole cat line, a whole dog line. We were able to keep them separate so everyone was calm. We have a van or a tent that we use to vaccinate the cats. We have line monitors going down to answer questions, make sure that everyone's staying in line because it can get hectic. We have check-in volunteers. We try to have bilingual on each side just because we have a huge Latinx population in Oakland. We're hoping to hopefully get more volunteers and hopefully staff that can speak other languages so we can help everyone and meet everyone where they are. We have floaters to come in when needed. I'm technically a floater, so I will come in and out as needed. We have volunteers pulling up vaccines. We have food distribution through volunteers. We have Jyothi has a little assistant that's able to help. Sometimes she even has two, one to be able to speak different languages, one to grab meds or anything else she needs. We have groomers that will do nail trims. We have groomers that will schedule appointments for a later date for them to come in to get groomed if they're not being groomed. We have volunteer vet techs. We also have other vet techs that come that gets paid. We also have a new group that started last year called Happy. I'm on the board of that, and they come and do the tags and talk to people about if you lost your animal, how to look out for them. And so they're able to do a little bit more than that we're able to do. So that always helpful. So there is some financial considerations.
Sorry.
So, oh, so sorry.
Donnell, can you go back to the last slide for just a moment?
Sure, I do apologize.
I just wanted to add in one comment here that I didn't tell you, Donnell, I was going to add in a comment, but I want to add it in because you brought up something that I think is really important, just in the way that even the slide is designed, that you designed it, that initially, that first time that we did the clinic, we didn't have tremendous volunteer support. And it became pretty clear that the community need was outpacing what we were able to offer. And so it took a real concerted effort to create these actual job positions for the clinic so that everyone knew what their role was. I wasn't overstepping, which I learned very quickly. I just making sure that we each are doing what it is so that we can have and see more animals. It flows better when you actually assign these positions. And that was something that Donnell spent a tremendous amount of time thinking about with his team in Oakland. In between each of these sessions was that reflection, like, what can we do to make this even better? And how can we make it work smoother? not knowing even where we were going or how many people would show up. And so I know as the veterinarian who was doing exams, I really appreciated his forward view of how to establish a clinic that would have these roles. Thank you. Sorry to cut you there.
No, you're good. Thank you. And so for the cat, I do have a staff member, Tiffany, who is the community cats programs coordinator. So she is at the clinics. She's running the cat part. So making sure that all the cat friendly are unfriendly is still getting the care that they need. And then we also have the dog lead is Heather. Heather is RVT at Oakland, and she could handle almost any dog. And if I didn't have these two to help me, I don't know where I would be. Same thing for Jyothi coming in, letting me know about splitting the cat and dog line, the best decision that we ever made. And then also pulling animals out who needs to be seen very quickly, and also making recommendations. And so a big part of why this works so well is because we have other organizations that help us. So anything that Jyothi cannot take care of or do needs more work, we will send them over as a referral to Vets and Vans. Vets and Vans is a low-cost clinic that luckily we have an urgent care grant that we're using through Cal for All Animals that is able to help. And so we are able to help urgent matters, any that need non-surgery for Oakland resident, about up to 500. Anything else would have to come out of the owner's pocket unless Vets and Vans has another grant source that they're able to help. And so they normally combine different things to make it work. We also have other organizations, some local shelters, local vets in the area that is able to take the referrals. They also help with our spays and neuters. And so once every few months, we'll schedule a clinic for them to fix about 30 dogs for us. We also use Animal Fix Clinic for our cats. And so we send about 10 cats a week over there, own cats, to get fixed. So we're able to actually hopefully help more animals, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to actually do more stays and neuters for the public. And so supplies. So supplies cost us between $1,500 to about $3,000, depending on if it's for a unsheltered, because we normally see about 25 to 30 animals, and we could see about 65 to about over 100 animals at a low income clinic. The vets, like Jyothi, she volunteers her time. So I'm try to be very flexible with her time and what she can do. Or we pay the vet $1,000 to come join us for community clinic or for spay neuter. RVTs, we pay about $300 for the day, and staff can volunteer from different departments. So I have people who always asking me from dog foster, cat foster, to come down. I have ACAs who want to come down. I have the ACA supervisor who's going to help me this weekend at our next clinic. So I have tons of people who really want to help, and the volunteers are excited. They're willing, they know what they like, they know their positions, and they really work well with the public. And that's what we were looking for, people who can actually interact with the public and help them out, because the public just wants help. They just need certain things that we're able to do that they can't really get much help from other places. All right, and I'll bring this over to Jyothi.
Yeah. So this I'll just say quickly that I've really enjoyed working with Donnell because of his flexibility. And so it's been a really great partnership. And I think a lot of times veterinarians like myself who are working on other jobs like to be able to offer back to the community in a way that's pretty low stress. And that's what Donnell's made it. The days that we choose our clinics are based on sort of like what my availability might be in a particular month. And there's a lot of flexibility. I think I can talk some more later about collaborations between local vets and shelters if anyone has any questions about how we set that up. But I'd like to keep moving on with Marshall's slides next. Thank you, Donnell.
All right, Marshall.
Oh, okay. I thought mine was the next one. I'm sorry. Can you go one more? Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Marshall Williams. I want to say thanks again to Maddie's Fund and Oakland Animal Services for providing me this opportunity. Just get right into it. We established Project Pet in 2020. I quarantined in Los Angeles with my brother, and it was kind of whether or not I was going to be able to make it to Oakland. I ended up coming to Oakland and getting an executive leadership and capacity building contract with a local nonprofit called Black Men Speak. And the leader of the organization, the executive director of the organization, had done 35 years in prison for a crime where he had eventually got his sentence exonerated, and now he had returned to the community and as an executive director of this nonprofit speakers bureau, and was in need of coaching and to be able to stabilize his organization. And so around about the same time that at the same time that I'm starting that, I also had dog treats, a dog treat line on Amazon. And Amazon is pretty much just easy. You put your dog treats on there, and they sell how they do. And at the same time, I'm paying attention to what's going on in animal welfare due to the pet business. I'm also noticing what's going on in the community with the nonprofit. And I'm taking this is over the course of a year from 2020 to 2021. I've spent very close, intimate time with this gentleman who was actively involved in my county at the behavioral health level, with mental health specifically, and wraparound social services. And so during that time, we were able to understand where, it wasn't just dog treats. It wasn't just, it was much more important. And I myself personally have always been passionate about being close to people who are hard to deal with, because at times and moments I'm hard to deal with. And so this had always been resonated with me. We created Project Pet to raise the standard of care for humans and pets by innovating healthcare delivery models that provide equitable access to marginalized urban populations while fostering environmental sustainability. That was important to us because we were directly able to witness as a result of doing real community work in Oakland, California over that time. In 2022, after starting the Project Pet side, we stumbled upon, Maddie's actually paid for our first trip down to the United States Humane Society Annual Animal Welfare Expo, where Jyothi was a presenter. And this was the first time that we really understood what One Health was and saw it in its capacity. And I just caught fire to that, because it was everything that I had witnessed at the community level with environment, people, and animals. We were literally watching returning family members, formerly incarcerated people, come into the community. The first thing they do is they get a job, then they get someplace to stay, they get a job, they get a car, and the next thing they do, they want to get a dog. Why? Because their friend has a dog. And so after repeatedly facilitating these transactions, it was just very clear to us we were convicted about that. We could go to the next slide. So what we do, so Project Pet, we work with the human-animal bond to address substance abuse, mental health, re-entry, and housing insecurity. We do that through two main vehicles. One is our micro clinics, where we have human health care physicians, clinicians, therapists, community resources, and veterinary care in the same place. We also have our Release Your Leash program, which is co-written by the Bay Area Association of Black Psychologists. We use mental health. We teach mental health principles through dog training. We use both of these portals as a way to identify additional needs inside the house, and then refer out to our established service partners who do the actual work. We also have products that are available, whereas it started with dog treats, is now lines that are more aligned with the One Health brand. So there are products for the environment, people, and animals. And we actually use labor from workforce development at the community level, with returning people who traditionally experience barriers to employment, like returning family members and senior citizens, are directly impactful in allowing our products to be brought to consumers. So Project Pet is Project Pet is product, program, and service all through the One Health lens. So we can go to next slide. Around in late 2022, after we returned from the Humane Society's conference, that really put the battery in my back to understand where animal welfare was. And I want to be cognizant of time because I know we were budgeted for 25 minutes and we're there. So should I?
We're good.
We're good. You got
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was really what gave us the visibility to understand where we were at in terms of providing a real service and a meaningful product to our community. And so we really took that seriously and came back to our local animal shelter in 2023 because of Ann Dunn and what we were able to discuss in 2022. In 2023, we were able to actually start providing the service to the community. And so what our micro clinic and wraparound service support looked like was obviously the human and animal veterinary component, but also importantly was the SB 803 peer navigation component. And so this was something that was special to California, but these designations are also in many other states. And what it basically qualifies as a person with lived experience in the criminal justice world, in the social services world, in mental health. If you have any kind of lived experience overcoming challenges with these in these scenarios, then this certification qualifies you for a living wage and ability to engage your community and to bill Medicaid for these services. And so through learning these things, we were able to work with these navigators and to employ them through our clinics to come out and engage the community, to point them to resources that they otherwise may not have known about. So with these navigators, we also had housing assistance, social service, resource navigation, and mental health programming, all at the clinics that we were working with Oakland Animal Service on. So we were able to engage our city, our county, private industry, and together is what all combined to create the effect that we were able to get. We also were able to begin to work out an agreement with Oakland Animal Services to help push adoptions through our local shelter. So if right now we're in the process of working through the agreement to take 80 dogs per year and train them, board them, and get them adopted in the community through our partners at probation and at the community probation office for Alameda County. And so these were the things that we were able to work directly with Oakland Animal Services to begin to construct for Alameda County and Oakland in particular. We could go to through the One Health model in our clinics. You can go to the next slide. So how things have changed over time, it has been really tremendous for us because of this collaborative efforts. We've been able to get over 20 major county contributors that are funded to come to our events to provide services. Everyone from behavioral health to public health to homeless services, substance abuse, have made a presence felt at the clinics that we were able to provide. Of course, they've been multidisciplinary because we have view it through the One Health lens. So the physicians, clinicians, therapists, all are there. But what's important and really telling to us is the commitment that we have been able to get from our local county government. We communicate directly at the director level with our public health department, with our behavioral health department, with the Mental Health Service Act, and all of the senior leadership positions that are directly involved with overseeing and public service and social service capacity. We communicate directly with those people. We were able to get our One Health Coalition was able to get a commendation from our county board of supervisors. Adult and juvenile probation we're actively in the process of beginning animal welfare and workforce development tracks to be able to get exposure into those populations. The city of Oakland has donated 2 dog parks, one in East and West Oakland for community service, where we have actually entered into partnership with the city. And the Oakland Private Industry Council has backed our workforce development and programming opportunities. So the financial and programmatic support has been overwhelming for us as well. With our county is incredibly interested in what we have to offer with the mental health support through dog training, because it repairs trust inside of the household with service provision. I'm pleased to say that we have raised our first grant, and we are in the process of having creating memorandums of understanding with established social service providers that outline our relationship for the animal welfare opportunities that we bring to the table to support those organizations. And so these are the things about what collaboration directly with Oakland Animal Services and our county government has been able to produce for us in a little over a year. We can go to the next slide. One note about what we were able to leverage, what I feel is important to share with everyone on the call, is that one donation from a philanthropic organization can grow exponentially, can increase your bandwidth exponentially inside the community if it's brought to the right people at the right time. And so what we were able to do is where Oakland Animal Service, for instance, was able to provide clinic budget for us to leverage with our county. And so when we approached Ann, they were currently already doing the work that they were doing. We said we would like to bring in additional service providers and create collaboration. And that was accepted, and we were able to do that. So when Oakland Animal Services, Project Pet, and the One Health Coalition began to accomplish the deliverables, it was very easy for everyone who were additional service providers at our clinics to understand that these were the same populations that they were already servicing, just in a different capacity. And so instead of spending money to reach these people, to market to these people, and to provide your service, you can show up where these people already are and provide that service and experience what is, the effect of what collaboration is supposed to bring. And so we created this out of a necessity because inclusion is cool, but it was important for us to participate. And to participate doesn't necessarily always require money at the time. It requires a commitment of your time. And so we were able to commit our time into making sure that people understood at the county level why it was important to engage with animal welfare. People from social services needed to understand why it was important to take time to understand who they were servicing and why the animals were important to bringing down barriers to communication. And so this is where the effect of the collaboration and the donations that came in really made sense in terms of accomplishing the deliverables for everyone that was there. So next slide. Because of this directly, because of this line of thinking and this way that we have been operating in Oakland, it directly allowed us to have impact on Melody, Melody and Sedaria, who Melody these are all her animals at the left, and Sedaria is a very keen case where there was an animal taken from her by she was not in Oakland at the time. She lives outside of the jurisdiction. There was an animal taken from her and had several that had bitten 3 people outside of her care. Sedaria had come to our clinics and become aware of our work and told us about the problem that she was having, and we were able to step in and rescue Panda. But Panda gets in and goes to animal rescue. He did not do very good at the animal rescue either. So Sedaria was very put out about that. We were able to adopt Nosy, which is in the picture with her here, from Oakland Animal Services, and get her supported with a wraparound for mental health and the overcoming her mental health and substance abuse challenges, and we were able to get training for Nosy. So now Nosy now accompanies Sedaria everywhere she goes in the community to work to support her and her needs. Nosy's out of the animal shelter. He's trained up and he's good. And this is the type of work that we were able to do with wraparound service and support for not only Sedaria, but the pets that were involved. And why, this is how we were able to be successful. So I think that is my last slide there.
All right. What does community engagement look like, newly look like in our community? And so, as you can see, we had some trouble. So in the beginning, we saw in 2021, we saw about 300 dogs, about 100 cats. And then 2022, when we lost our 2 vets, they actually started, we didn't really lose them. They decided to start their own nonprofit, Vets in Van, as I explained earlier. And so we lost our vets for a minute, but we're also able to gain them as another entity to be able to help the same animals in our community. And then 2023, we're able to get Jyothi on board. A little before 2023, we're gonna get Jyothi on board to be able to come in to provide services. Half the things we were not able to provide just because we didn't have the vet oversight. And luckily, Jyothi was able to come in with her guidance and help us out. The clinics are about 3 hours, start to finish, about 2 hours for the whole clinic. Some things to get started, some things to close, but that's how we look like in Oakland. So we have to give thanks to Maddie. I would not be here if it wasn't for Maddie and all the work that Maddie's Fund has done. So feel free to take down our information. We do have time for questions. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's see what questions that we have. I appreciate everyone's time today.
Donnell, I've been gathering questions. If it's easier for y'all, I can just take it one at a time.
That would be great. Thank you, Nadia.
Cool. So the first question is about volunteer recruitment. So if you can share a little bit about what your volunteer recruitment strategy has been. Is there any training involved, either as they onboard or as you continue to retain those volunteers?
So when I first got started, the volunteer coordinator at the time used my clinics as a place to bring new volunteers in who just missed the introduction clinic. So we're able to show them what we do outside the shelter, have them give out dog food, check people in, things like that. So not really the animal handling part, if they're interested in that, but it also showed them they met other volunteers who can, when they finally start, can help them out. They'll meet some mentors. And so it's kind of a little bit of combinations. We learn from each other. So the volunteers learn from me, new volunteers learn from each other. So it's kind of, we see what works for different people. So that does not work for everyone, but most volunteers who come in have a great time. They're excited to come back for another one.
I can add to that just a little bit. From the veterinary side of things, we're lucky to have your vet school, Nadia, where you work. UC Davis is relatively close. So we put out posts to the UC Davis students, and we've had veterinary students who have come down to Oakland from Davis to help give vaccines. It's a great experience for them. So we are fortunate that we have a vet school relatively close by. And then for local veterinarians as well, I had put out a post. We have a kind of a small Facebook group of veterinarians in the Bay Area. And there have been a couple of veterinarians who are not licensed in California who have come just to help and see what it looks like. And so that's also been helpful from the medical side. And then I will say Marshall brings on, actually, Marshall, you unmuted yourself, but you also bring your entire teams with you. So
I've been fortunate enough to have each organization that has participated has a overwhelming volunteer base. So we've been fortunate in that regard.
Great, thank you, three. So this question was posed for Donnell, but I think maybe Donnell and Marshall, if you can tell us a little bit about the population of people experiencing homelessness in Oakland and in the Bay Area. So maybe tell us just about general population and then folks that have pets with them.
I'm not sure on the numbers. Maybe Marshall has those numbers, but basically it's a huge unhoused population. And most people have their animals. Most people love their animals so much where some of them are able to grab housing, but they're unable to actually get in there due to the animals that they have. So they're willing to stay with their pets and do what they can outside of some of these different services, but it is a huge population.
And so to caveat that, I like to talk about opportunity zones inside of our county. So there's like 200,000 residents inside of opportunity zones with the average age of 35. And so knowing that Generation Z and millennials are the largest demographic of pet owners and half ethnic, then you can do the math as far as to how many of them are pet owners. So that's one thing, but the actual unhoused population is estimated, because it's not really tracked like that at that level of detail, it's probably around 50 to 60,000 people inside of Oakland, specifically inside of those opportunity zones that are homeless. And so in that homeless class, then you have people who are unhoused and have just unhoused. And so that's going to be a portion of people. And then there's also going to be people that are chronically homeless, and the chronically homeless are then segmented into how long you've been chronically homeless. And it kind of segues from there. But a large portion of homeless inside of opportunity zones inside Alameda County, there's a large, and this is one reason why the PUP Act was so important, is because it allows the grant money to flow through to the shelters for the homeless population. And the unhoused population in Oakland is very large. It is a large portion of the people that are unhoused. And so if that provides the kind of clarity.
Yeah, I mean, I know it can be very difficult to get exact numbers, but anecdotally we can see it. There's reports that come out. So thank you, Marshall, for elaborating on that. There was a question about data tracking and reporting. So somebody was mentioning that they really struggled with having to use paper records, since it tends to be, the fastest or the easiest during hectic outreach events. So would you all be able to share if there's a platform or a software or a data tracking process that you follow?
I wish. It's all paperwork for me, and I spend weeks on end data entry, most of it.
I'm going to add another point there, though. We have a new grant, thanks to Maddie, that is going to be helping with these clinics now. So as part of that, there'll be a different way of actually tracking these numbers that answers the previous question as well as this question. Because as you mentioned, like, this is a really amazing opportunity at the same time to get more concrete around our numbers and the impact. And so since Donnell and I, as volunteers, I don't think we've been collecting all that data, but now there's an opportunity to do more of that. So actually, if there's others in this group who have suggestions on platforms that they like, yeah, please share in the chat, because we'd love to learn from you too.
All right. Thank you guys so much for this. I think that's all the questions we have for today. We will continue this on the Maddie's Pet Forum. Well, Jyothi, Marshall, and I will be answering questions. So feel free to join us. And I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.
Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Donnell, Jyothi, and Marshall, I have some leftover questions that we didn't get to, so I'll follow up in an email, and I'm sure they'll be posted on the Pet Forum too, but I'll just put them in your inbox too.
Thank you so much, Nadia. You were such a lifesaver today. I really do appreciate all your help with this.
Of course, and you all did great. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.